Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I'm going to be showing you and doing a bit of a review of Marvel Comics #2, Conan the Barbarian. So, if you caught my last video, with Conan #1, you'll know that Marvel Comics has recently reacquired the licensing for Conan the Barbarian, and after a few months in between the last of the Dark Horse and this month, Conan the Barbarian has now returned to comic book form. I believe there's also coming out next month a magazine style, so almost like a return to the Savage Sword. And I will actually take a look for that advertisement, that they had in the, in the book itself. Now, just a real quick note, I'm not going to show you the, obviously I'm not going to show you the entire comic book. I'm just going to briefly review it. I'm going to show you the digital version of it as well. Because I didn't get a chance to actually pick up the, I didn't get a chance to pick up the physical copy of it. But looking through last, 2 weeks ago, issue #1, I know that there was an advertisement for, I don't want to say Savage Sword, but it actually might be. Yes, it is Savage Sword. So Savage Sword of Conan #1 is coming out in February of 2019. So, very soon, this will be coming out. And then another comic that I'm, really quite interested in is going to be The Age of Conan Belit, which might be get this camera. That might be a mini-series coming out, soon as well. This is going to be number 1, and this is coming out by, it's by Tina Howard and Kate Niemczyk. I wonder if Tina Howard is in any relation to Robert E. Howard, but that would be pretty cool. But if not, and that's due for March 2019. The cover art by Sana Takeda. So that'll be interesting. Certainly something I want to get my hand on as well, and give it a show. So I will link the video that I had done on #1 to this one as well. So once again, I'm going to show you the digital, and I'm going to go through it, much more quickly than I did the last video because, this was only just released a couple of days ago, and I don't want to spoil anything too much. I just want to give you some of the impressions of what I thought of this comic. So I am going to switch to that view very quickly. Make sure I'm on the right view. Yes, this is my screen capture. So there we have it. And, the cover art, once again, is very well done. It's by the same, it's by the same group that did the same 3 people. So Jason Aaron, Mahmoud Asrar, and Matthew Wilson. So that is your writer and your 2 primary artists, the artist and then the colorist. So we will go to the next view. And here's the Nemedean Chronicles, and they actually show you where the general area of where this story is taking place. So this particular story is taking place in the Pictish wilderness beyond the Black River. And when I first started through it, I was like, oh, geez, I've seen this story before, but it does take a bit of a twist, and so that's, that was the relief, of me, based on no, number one, I was a little bit disappointed, but I kind of chalked it up to the fact that I'm very, very familiar with the Conan stories, uh, almost so much so that sometimes I conflate them. But when I see things that I was like, I've seen this before in a Conan story, it it took a little something away, from my experience in reading number one, and it was something that I didn't, I was with number two, I was almost sure I was going to feel the same way, and then I changed. So I'll show you the split screens for both days at the same time. So this is the life and death of Conan, part two, and you see, this opening scenery of in the Pictish woodlands beyond the Black River, and here's a panther stalking, and here are pigs, you know, down, um, hunting down this panther. And Conan, of course, is there, and he jumps out and starts away at the and that's a story that's been told multiple times. They bring up, the multiple things, multiple storylines that, as far as you know, the Aquilonian forts along the frontier lands and Picts, invading, the frontiered farms and such and raiding them, and Conan goes out into Pictus wilderness and goes to kill to kill off these raiders and such, and it's a story that's been told several times, most significantly and beyond the Black River, and and such. So here we have or beyond Thunder River, but beyond that, I came across these ghost snakes, which is what they were. I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to really bring up the children of Jabal Sag, or and so as I'm flipping through, I start to see some changes in the story, and some things that I wasn't expecting. And so that's where the story actually becomes a little bit more interesting. And, I was like, okay, this is actually, something that, I hadn't experienced before with Conan and his relationship with the Picts. And it ties into, it starts into that, the purpose of Robert E. Howard's writing, as far as it's a struggle between civilization and the natural uh, human condition of barbarism. And this is where Conan and the Picts start to see that they have common ground, in that neither Cimmerians or Picts are of the civilized world, and there's a certain honor, um, and respect that they can have towards each other, being on the same side of that more, broader struggle that Robert E. Howard was really telling, that particular story through characters like Conan, or through characters like Kull, and other, characters, beyond that. So if you're not very familiar with the character of Conan the Barbarian, and how and why Robert E. Howard was writing, about that character, I strongly suggest you go to, Robert E. Howard's books, particularly the Del Rey, the Coming of Conan, the Bloody Sword, Bloody Crown of Conan, and the Sword of Conan, or whatever. Like I said, these are unscripted videos. So sometimes I'll mix up the name of various things. So, and then here's a little scene throws back to the original, which I'm not going to get into. But just the art, the art obviously is really, really well done. Um, Again, not too cartoony, not quite Savage Sword. Like I mentioned in my last video, this is actually closer to the grittiness of Savage Sword of Conan as opposed to, what we had seen in the previous versions of Conan the Barbarian by Marvel Comics. And then at the very end, they have a Hyabarian page. And then this is part two of The Black Starlight by John Hocking. And so that's a 12-part miniseries of a novella to follow along. And I believe that's more towards more slated towards the story of the death of Conan. And they give you a preview for next month. And that's pretty much it. So let me just switch back here. So once again, like I said, I was going to keep this brief. So this is Conan the Barbarian #2. I enjoyed it more so than the first one because I did see some unique twist in the story that I wasn't, unaccustomed to. Artwork is great. The writing is pretty well done. Certainly liked it better this time than last time. And they still do tie in Conan #1 and some of that storyline. So even though it is only one cell and one small connection, to it, I think it's a nice device that they're using in order to keep you still connected to the overall storyline. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't gotten a chance to start collecting, the Conan comics, I recommend that you do because they seem to be, a lot more interesting, at least to me, a lot more interesting than, than some of the Dark Horse comics, which I saw, primarily as reprints of the original Conan series. So and I do like the fact that they are giving homage to that's kind of to by saying that this is legacy number 277. So you kind of see that this is a connection to the old Marvel series, and I really like for Marvel as a company to basically look at these as a continuation of their previously long-held series of Conan's 1 through 275. It would have been. So there are 275 original Conan the Barbarians put out by Marvel, and now this new series is picking up with 276 and 277. So once again, enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. I am going to be doing some gaming with the Conan RPG put up by Modifius, so the 2D20 system, and I'll be making some videos of that in the upcoming days and weeks. And so look forward to putting out as much Conan stuff as I can now that they are running these new Conan comics. Definitely next month I'll be showing you the new Savage Sword, and then the following month, the month of March, I'll be showing you that Belit once that comes out. I'm really stoked about that. I'd like to see what they do with that that comic book, and that character as being the I hope she's treated as the main character, in that it's not just an extension of the Conan Queen of the Black Coast storyline. So you all have a great week coming up, and thanks for joining.